Oh, I caught him. I caught him putting his glasses on at the last second.
Hey,
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the KMB Music Den. I am still Keith.
I'm always Brad.
Always Brad. How you doing today,
Oh,
buddy?
pretty good. How are you doing?
It's hectic, you know?
Always. It's always hectic for some reason.
Yeah, man, it's hectic, but I love making time to do this, and especially when
Yeah,
it's one of our more favorite bands that are still going strong here, and that is the mighty Wilco, folks.
the mighty Wilco.
Mighty Wilco. They have a new album that just came out, as you all know. If you clicked on this video, it's called Cousin. And wow, they really wowed us last year with a double album, Cruel Country.
They did. They
I know you,
absolutely did.
yeah, you're a big fan of that one, I know.
Yes.
And I tell you, it's interesting, Brad. And we'll obviously talk about Cousin here, but for some reason, I listened to the new album a couple times, and then it just got me on this Wilco kick. So I started to just listen to a lot of the back catalog, but more in particular, kind of that middle era.
Okay.
Um, so folks, if you don't already know, Brad and I both, particularly Brad, are massive Jay Bennett fans.
Yeah.
Um, not just his amazing work with Wilco, but his solo
No.
work. And obviously, a tragic story, tragic end of that story that we lost him many years ago.
Hmm.
Um, but Brad, we've always kind of I guess I'll say been a little rough on the post Bennett albums because the Bennett albums were such magic, absolute magic.
They were magic. I mean, my feelings when it comes to Jeff and Wilco in general is I feel like Jeff is always better when he has a J with him. Whether it be
Yes.
Farr, whether it be Bennett, it just seems like that give and take, that push and pull that he has with those great minds brings out the best in him. Jay Bennett was highly underrated for what he was. I mean, he was as much a part of Wilco and Brian Wilco as much as Jeff did, in my opinion. Between the sounds he brought to it, the songwriting, those the DNA of those albums as much as Bennett as they are Tweedy. Same with
Yes.
Local Two Blow. You had Jay Farr. So when it became kind of Jeff's ship, not to say I didn't enjoy it as much, but some I didn't quite. I guess I didn't enjoy it as much. Honestly, I mean, be honest. It's when I look back to Wilco. To me, their golden years are being there. Summer Teeth, and of course Yankee. Boy,
What's
I'm
up,
gonna
Fox?
get all the yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the golden years for Wilco,
And
in
what
my
and
opinion.
and what do those three albums have in common, Brad?
Well, that's the Jay Bennett era. I mean, that's when the magic was happening.
Yeah.
Now, and like you said, I've always been a little bit critical since. I have not been a big Wilco fan after that. I mean, it didn't hit me the same. However, like you said, last year I had to take a step back and apologize because Cruel Country was fantastic. That
Yes.
was a Tweety album where I went, okay, shit, I gotta shut up. That man just put out an album. I mean, it was a fantastic album. So I was excited to get into this one and see, is it now going to go on a streak of just great albums, or was Cruel Country just kind of a one-off for me? So, what do you
Yeah.
think? I mean, is that the
Well, yeah, I'm along the same lines as you. Maybe not quite so adamant about well, after Bennett, and I mean, you've never said that after Bennett they sucked because that's not true,
no, 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 no?
but
It
it's
didn't
just
suck.
it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I, it's almost like for me, I kind of think of it as two different. I have to think of them as two different bands. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the Wilco with Jay Bennett was this magic. It was just a
Yes.
moment in time. It was like they could do no wrong.
No.
I mean, the B sides from that era, the outtakes, the demos, everything you can get your hands on is just absolute gold. Um, I mean, that just saying what I just said is an understatement of how amazing this music is. But that Tweety Bennett partnership was not meant to last forever.
Oh no, it wouldn't
Yeah,
have.
it was one of those things where you grab on while you can, you make as much music as you can while they can stand to be in the same room with each
Mm-hmm.
other, and you just appreciate what you got out of it.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. So now, like I said, I listened to Cousin, and I went back and started to listen. I'm like, you know what? I need to reevaluate the post Bennett albums, particularly the more recent ones.
Sure.
But I listened to almost all of them in the past week or so. I listened to, A Ghost Is Born is actually, in its own way, it's a very different album. But it's I think it's really, really, really great. I've always been a huge fan of the Sky Blue Sky album.
Yeah, which to me, outside of Cruel Country, is the best post Bennett album.
Okay.
Those two albums are two that I would buy on vinyl.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I was going to ask you because I couldn't remember. Do you have Cruel Country on vinyl? Or are you still looking for it?
I do not. No, I do
Okay.
not. I should, but I don't.
I should too. And I tell you what, I'm pretty sure I am going to get that on vinyl after revisiting it this week because wow, so good, so good. I think when it came out, the problem for me was there was just so much there. It kind of overwhelmed me, and I didn't really dig in like I should have. But I dug in this past week, like I said, and wow, I mean, just absolutely fantastic. I know it made your top 10 albums of 2022, I guess it was.
It had to. That was my what's the word for it? When you got to kind of give amends to somebody that I guess I did kind of, not shit talk Tweety, but I thought that his best days were gone. But yeah, he threw out that solid album, and I had to give him his credit for that.
Yeah, definitely. Pardon me, take a little sip here. But looks like what I'm sipping is a little different than what you're sipping there.
Well, I always have to have the beers. Today we're going with the Great Lakes in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the Elliott Ness Lager. Very good, guys. Very good.
Very good. A little plug for them. And spring water is what I got.
There you go. From Colorado, I'm assuming.
Yes, exactly. I'll give a shout out to Mother Nature. But anyway, let's talk about Cousin. You asked me, hey, what did you think? I got to tell you, it's been a very interesting ride for me with Cousin. I've listened to it about 4 or 5 times. And the first time I listened to it, I thought, it's pretty good. And each subsequent listen, this album to me feels like a grower. It feels like one that the more you listen to it, the more it reveals itself, if that makes any sense. And yeah, I mean, there's part of me that kind of longs for, well, we all long for the Bennett years, but there's a part of me that, honestly, there's a part of me that wants to get a Wilco album now that is kind of a little bit more like AM, their debut.
Sure, yeah.
Which is just that straight up country rock, but, a lot of emphasis on the rock. These guys have been unfairly touted in recent years as dad rock, because
we're talking about them when we're that age. So, I mean, hey, who knows?
Exactly, yeah. So, they're older now, and, some of their stuff is a little more mellow, a little more pensive. Yeah. Which a lot of it is quite beautiful. So I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, there's part of me that would like to just, like I said with Manchester Orchestra a while back, where they're doing a lot with like sounds and synths and things in the past few albums that are, as again, a lot of it's very beautiful. But part of me just wants to hear that, that grit and grime. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a solid effort. I think it was smart to go in this direction and not just give us Cruel Country. Here's the songs that didn't make it onto the double album, because, we have Cruel Country. That's how I look at it. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the listen. Like I said, it seems to be one to me that each time I listen, I notice something else, or I appreciate something else, or just as a quick example, the second song, 10 Dead, when I first heard it, I was like, what is this? It sounds like he's writing like for children, like now there are 10 dead, Now, again, I didn't take the time to research what that's about. I assume that's some sort of like real news story that moved him. But the more I've listened to even that song, I'm just like, okay, I don't know, I'm just kind of getting more into it. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not doing it very eloquently. But hey, let me turn it over to you and just your first impressions of Cousin, and then we'll get more into the details here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Jeff, when I really think Jeff's at his A game, is when he seems emotionally raw. Is when he seems a little bit. I don't know what the wording is for it because I'm not a musician myself, but we're almost seems exposed and like really going for it.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable. Very which the Jays seem to bring that out a lot of times. Now,
Yeah.
this one I struggled with a little bit. The opener, Infinite Surprise. When it started, I was okay. I enjoyed that song. I even wrote down, it's a calming opener, kind of in a whispered lyrics, like he didn't kind of get above a whisper as far as the vocals. And then there was kind of like an electronic freak out bridge, like a little mess in the middle there, And all in all, I thought it was okay. I thought that was interesting. I think where I started struggling a little bit is that seemed to be the overarching theme the whole way through. Is I don't know that he ever on this album, unless I missed it, really gets above a whisper when he's singing. I mean, the vocals are just very he sounded tired a lot. And I don't know if it's the intention was to be quiet or a lot of times I like when Jeff's voice goes all over the place. When it's just controlled whisper the whole way through. I thought the most interesting parts on this album were a lot of the bridges, if that makes sense. There was some experimentation during some of the bridges on these songs that I thought were unique, that I thought kind of brought some, funky flavor in there. I mean, I was like, this is a cool sound.
Yeah.
But I struggled with some of it. Like the 10 Dead song, like you said, it was odd. Now, I come to find it's a politically motivated song about school shooting. So I mean that's heavy. That's heavy, material. So I mean, nothing light about that. I mean, and I kind of figured there was something just in the way he was delivered that this probably has a very heavy meaning to it. But all in all, I struggled with the album in general. Now, I didn't listen to it. I listened to it twice the way through. So as you're saying, if it's a grower, this might be one I have to keep attacking and see if it grows.
Yeah.
It didn't have that instant, that Cruel Country had for me.
Okay.
It wasn't quite as accessible to me. But not to say it's bad. I mean, this could be someone's favorite Wilco album. My opinion really is not that important, but just my initial reaction to the album was a little bit on the lower side than what I was hoping for. But there are some moments, like the final track to me is the best track on the album. Meant to Be.
Yeah.
Correct. I really enjoyed that song. I thought it was a great closer. I'm not usually the closer guy, that's you, but I thought it closed out the album really well, and I thought that was a really well done track.
Yeah. Now you brought up some really great stuff here. You touched upon something with his voice that I wanted to mention as well. So I'm glad that jumped out to you. You remember when not long ago, folks at home, and I'm sure you do, Brad, if you watched the video we did on Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
Remember when we talked about, we were more, I'm sorry. I was more impressed than moved by the band. Also, Josh's vocals. Where it's the opposite with Wilco for me. Jeff Tweedy is not Freddie Mercury.
No.
And he wouldn't even, Freddie Mercury wouldn't even fit in Wilco. But when Jeff Tweedy sings, it moves me. And for me, it doesn't matter if it's a whisper. So, but I would push back a little bit on that point you made, Brad, and ask you, in your opinion, Cruel Country, I think a lot of that he's really not, I don't want to say over singing, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of hushed vocals in that too, and you absolutely love that.
The vocals seem pushed to the front a little bit more for me on that.
Okay.
Now, that could be wrong, or maybe it was the songwriting in general, but this one felt very constricted as far as vocally. It was just very, like, I think back to Summer Teeth days, and some of those just wild, like, what's track 2, Always in Love, or, where he kind of, Jeff Tweedies, he kind of just hits them weird, I don't know how to explain it again, I'm not a singer, but.
No, I know what you mean. His range.
He just kind of breaks mold there, but this felt like it just stayed right in a comfort zone, just didn't move, there was no excitement to the vocals. So I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't get moved by the vocals on this one, so I was waiting for something musically to do that. And like I said, there were some bridges that I found fascinating.
Yeah.
which I'm not usually a bridge guy. So I found that kind of fascinating that I was moved by some of the bridges. But overall,
Yeah.
vocally, it was very in pocket to me. It didn't move a whole lot.
I noticed the same thing. I noticed that there's a certain range, not only really with his voice in general, because like you said, I mean, think of the opening track on Summer Teeth, Can't Stand It. I mean,
Yes, that's the
he's
one that's in
going
my head.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas in this album, and I agree with you with the part where you're saying that there's like a range that he stays in. And
Yeah.
it's not, to me, I don't think it's at all that he can't sing the higher parts anymore. I think it's a stylistic choice, and I think it's a choice of the lyrical content of the album, the mood of the album with the instrumentation.
Sure.
That it's a conscious choice. Now, going along with this is very interesting to me. By the way, I think this is a very interesting album to talk about. There's lots of layers here. I think that for me, the music, the soundscapes, if you will, of this album were more interesting than the lyrics and the vocals. Now again, I have to live with it some more. I think some of these songs are going to continue to reveal themselves to me. I think I really do, though. For whatever reason, my gut tells me after listening 4 or 5 times here that this was the right album for them to make at this time. Because, we had the Schmilko, and we had the Ode to Joy, which, by the way, are speaking to me more now than they ever have for some reason, because I'm going back on fresh years and I'm like, wow, again, I have to put that Bennett era in just a little jar, in a little box, and just say this was absolute perfect magic. And just
Yeah.
rate, listen to and enjoy Wilco just as, like it's a whole different band, basically.
Yeah.
And doing that, they're fantastic. But I think after the double album Cruel Country, which is fantastic, to use the same word again, but I think this album is more of an album that will be more appreciated years from now. That's my prediction.
And I kind of agree. I mean, if it gets to the level of Cruel Country, it's going to be because it grows on me. It didn't come out of the box the same way. So
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, the Bennett era, and that's the thing, is it's hard for me to let go of the Bennett era just because of how much I enjoyed it, how much I loved it. Even his solo stuff, his solo material, Jay Bennett. I mean, I followed that so deeply.
Yeah.
I struggled with Jeff's. I mean, the Wilco. I struggled with some of that afterwards. So I mean, there were songs here and there, albums like you said, Blue Sky Blue or whatever it was.
Sky Blue Sky, yeah.
Too many words in that. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
right.
I long for certain things like that. And where you said this is the album they needed to make now, for me, it's just one that it doesn't just sink into me quite like if there was another Summer Teeth, which I know it can't happen.
Yeah.
But like you said, they can't stand it. I mean, I would love to hear Jeff in that mode again, but maybe that's just never going to happen.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. You brought up something near the beginning of this video that I totally agree with, and I think is extremely important to discuss and take a close look at. You are 100% correct that Jeff Tweedy is at his best when he has that opposing foil.
Yeah.
When he has that other J, it's been in the other case now. Ironically, both were named J, but so the J and J, that yin and yang, that because it seems like as soon as Bennett left and they started making those albums, which some of them I really do think are really quite great. It seemed like it was Jeff's band, and it was just like, okay, Jeff comes in, here's the songs, and let's just find our parts, and
it just goes on cruise control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, if you took No Depression from Uncle Tupelo, Summer Teeth being there, and then Yankee Foxtrot, just take those 4 albums and you have an amazing career.
Yeah.
And it was with the Jays that he did that. And they were just a lot of push and pull, a lot of great songwriting. And then if you took everything else he's done, yeah, I mean, there's a few, but I'll take the other 4 albums over everything else he's done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would have to make that same tough decision, but I would make it definitely. Um, but yeah, and again, I go back to the whole, I gotta put that in a little box because I mean, if Wilco, if we never knew, and this would be a terrible world for both of us if it were this way, but if none of that ever happened and their career started with A Ghost Is Born, and it was always just the Jeff Tweedy Show, and it's right up until Cousin that just came out. I mean, what a great career, what a great band. So, but it's hard, when you had that magic, and it was short lived, 3 albums, you know. But I respect the band. It's not just Tweedy. John Storado on bass has been with him all along, and the drummer is a phenomenal drummer. And Nels Klein.
Yeah, Nels was a fantastic addition. So I mean,
yeah,
it's just something about those two others, and I think it was the infusion of the songwriting where there was, hey, let's try this. How about we do this a little bit? And I think it would make Tweedy step out of the box a little bit. Whereas with them gone, he's just in that box, and he's not pushing anything. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. That being said, I think he's still one of our better songwriters that's going strong today. I think they're one of the best bands that's still going strong today and putting out albums that are worth listening to, that I think will stand the test of time. So yeah, I mean, you in this situation, you can't make a comparison like Van Halen versus Van Hagar, for example, because it doesn't make sense because it's all the same lead singer. Yeah,
no,
that's
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It's just I'm definitely the guy who started listening to Bennett solo, started listening to Sunvolt. I was more drawn to those aspects after the breakups. So
sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's valid. I mean, I lean that way myself. I kind of had an interesting week with Wilco, not just with Cousin, but
that's good. That's good though.
Yeah, I went back. I listened to A Ghost Is Born. I listened to Wilco the album. I listened to Schmilko. I listened to a lot of those albums. I really didn't listen to Sky Blue Sky because I know it like the back of my hand, so I didn't really.
That one's great.
Yeah, didn't need to refamiliarize myself with that one, but.
Mm-hmm.
But folks, yeah, we have rambled on. But we want to know what you think about the new Wilco album, Cousin. Brad, I encourage you to give it a few more spins and see if it grows on you like it did for me. But yeah, it's like I said, it's been revealing myself to me after each spin. So see what you think as time marches on here. I guess, I mean, they seem to kind of be on I guess we would expect something from them next year, I would think. So interested to see where they go.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll turn the amps up a bit and give me some of that classic country rock that I'm seeking.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. They did AM, maybe they'll do FM now. Oh, somebody else already did it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. So, all right, guys, please let us know what you think of the new Wilco album, Cousin, in the comments. As always, for Brad, I'm Keith. This is the K&B Music Den. Please like this video, share it on social media, subscribe to the channel, smash the bell for notifications. We will be back with more content. Thank you so much for the support. The views are coming quicker than they ever have been after our first year anniversary. And it's all thanks to each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Please always feel free to comment. Let us know if there's things you want us to check out, ideas for content. We have to decide what moves us to do things. So we can't guarantee we're going to take every request and do it, but we sure welcome them. We sure do. So thanks as always, Brad. Great job. And we will see you folks real soon. Take care.